Welcome back to the Comptia Network Plus course. Other common security policies. So you get the idea. Security policies can cover literally hundreds of items. Here are some of the common ones. Notification. Security policies aren't much good if no one knows about them, right? So make sure you give users a copy of the security policy when you give them their usernames and passwords. It's also a good idea to have computers display a summarized version of the policy when any user attempts to connect. Here's an example. Unauthorized access is prohibited and will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Remember, your goal is to close loopholes. One hacker actually argued that because a computer didn't tell him otherwise, anyone was free to connect to and use the system. Equipment access. Disable all unused network ports so that any non-employees who happen to be in the building can't connect a laptop to an unused port and gain access to the network. And don't forget to place all network equipment under lock and key. Wiring. Your network's wires should never run along the floor where they can be easily accessed or tripped over, getting you sued. Router switches and concentrators should live in locked closets or rooms with access to these rooms controlled by anything ranging from a good lock to a biometric access system, depending on the level of security your specific network and data require. Door locks, swipe mechanisms. Be sure that only authorized people know the combination to the cipher lock on your data center doors, or that only the appropriate people have badges that allow access to the data center. Change lock combinations often and never ever leave server room doors open or unlocked. Badges. Badges require everyone to wear an ID badge, including contractors and visitors, and assign appropriate access levels to everyone. Tracking. Require badge access to all entrances to buildings and internal computer rooms. Track and record all entry to and exit from these rooms. Passwords. Reset passwords at least every month. Train everyone to how to create strong passwords. Set bias passwords on every client and server computer to prevent bias changes. Monitor viewing. Place computer monitors strategically so that visitors or people looking through windows can't see them. And make sure unauthorized users' persons can't see security guard stations and server monitors. Monitor privacy screens if necessary. Accounts. Each user should have their own account, unique username, and employees should never share user accounts. Even temporary employees should have their own account, otherwise you won't be able to isolate a security breach. Testing. Review and audit your network security at least once a year. Background checks. Do background checks on all network support staff. This may include calling their previous employers, verifying their college degrees, requiring a drug test, and checking for a criminal background. Firewalls. Use a firewall to protect all internet connections. Use the appropriate proxies and dynamic packet filtering equipment to control access to the network. Your firewall should provide as much security as your company requires and your budget allows. Intrusion detection. Use intrusion detection and logging software to discover security breaches and be sure you're logging the events you want to monitor. Cameras. Cameras should cover all entrances to the building and the entire parking lot. Be sure that cameras are in weatherproof and tamper-proof housings, and review the output at a security monitoring office. Record everything on extended length tape recorders. Mail servers. Provide each person with their own email mailbox and attach an individual network account to each mailbox. If several people need access to a mailbox, don't give them all the password to a single network account. Instead, assign individual privileges to each person's network account so you can track activity down to a single person, even with a generic address like info@mycompany.com. DMZ. Use a DMZ zone for all publicly viewable servers, including web servers, FTP servers, and email servers. Figure 14.2 shows a common Dmz map. So here's our private network, firewall, DMZ, web servers, and the internet. It is not advisable to put a DMZ outside the firewall because any servers outside your firewall defeat the whole purpose of having one. However, it is possible that you may see a DMZ outside the firewall in some networks. Mail relay. Mail servers relay to other email servers by design. When the email server relays from any server that requests it is called open relay. Hackers use this feature to forward spam. Modern email systems allow you to control which servers your email server will relay for, which helps prevent this. Patches. Make sure the latest security patches are installed after being properly tested on a non-production computer. Backups. Store backup tape cartridges securely, not on a shelf or table within reach of someone working at the server. Lock tapes in a waterproof, fireproof safe, and keep at least some of your backups off-site. Modems. Do not ever allow desktop modems because they can be used to get to the internet without your knowledge. Restrict modem access to approved server-based modem pools. Guards. If you need security guards, they shouldn't patrol the same station all the time. As people become familiar with the environment and situation, they tend to become less observant about that environment. So rotating guards to keep their concentration at the highest possible level makes good sense. Clearly, guards are people who need breaks to ensure alertness, but make sure that all patrols are covered during shift changes, rotations, and breaks. Guards should also receive periodic training and testing to make sure they can recognize a threat and take appropriate action. Breaking policy. You know that for your policy to be effective, it's got to be enforced consistently and completely. Nobody is so special that they don't have to adhere to it, and people have to understand the consequences of breaking policy too. Your network users need to have a clearly written document called a security policy that fully identifies, explains what's expected of them and what they can and can't do. Plus, people must be made completely aware of the consequences of breaking rules, and penalties have to match the severity of the offence to be carried out quickly, if not immediately, to be effective. Let's take a minute and talk about these penalties. As far back as the mid-1980s, employees were immediately terminated for major technology policy infractions. For example, one guy from a large computer company immediately got his pink slip when pornography was found on his computer's hard drive. This situation was handled decisively by the manager, informed him that he was being immediately terminated and that he had 1 hour to vacate the premises. A security guard stood watch while he cleaned out his desk to make sure the employee touched only personal items, no computer equipment including storage media, and when he had finished his when he was finished gathering his personal things, the guard then escorted him from the building. Downloading and installing software from the internet to your PC at work is not as major depending on where you work, But from the things we've seen so far, you know that doing that can compromise security. Beta products, new software and patches need to be tested by the IT department before anyone can use them. Period. Here's an example. After an employee installed the untested beta release of a web browser and rebooted their PC, the production Windows NT server at a national telephone company crashed. The result action was to revoke the employee's internet FTP privileges for 3 months. The exit interview. Sometimes the importance of an employee's position and the amount of knowledge they have about the company and its systems justifies requiring an exit interview when they're terminated. It's done to minimize the risk of the employee being disgruntled and to attempt to ensure that they're leaving under the most favourable circumstances possible. The interview can include IT manager, a human resources representative, a sysadmin, and sometimes even security personnel. When an employee leaves the company, whether they're quitting to move on to another job or being terminated, all company property needs to be turned in and logged. This includes things like cell phones, pagers, toolkits, keys, badges, security tokens, models, and obviously all company documents, and clearly IT needs to disable all accounts immediately, including those for network access and voicemail, and remaining employees should be informed that the employee is leaving at this time. This is especially important when that employee has access to sensitive documents, because if they're leaving under favourable conditions, they could still log in and copy data to take it with them for their own use. For instance, salespeople can easily hurt a company by taking client information with them, and it has happened, as is in the case of a salesperson who accessed their former company's voicemail system and stole sales leads. So it's not just the obviously disgruntled ex-network administrator who could demolish your website after leaving that you need to be concerned about. So I'm going to leave it here today for this video. If you like listening, please consider like, sharing and subscribing. Thank you.